Welcome to Zombie Life with me, Dead Ned. On today's episode, I'll be taking a look at 90s undersea monster horror action fest Deep Rising, and why it's totally worth a watch. I mean, it's got Famke Janssen in for a start. Need I go on? Now remember, if you enjoy this episode, please like and subscribe. That would be amazing. Deep Rising was released in 1998 and was directed by Stephen Sommers, who went on to helm 1999's The Mummy and its sequel, The Mummy Returns. It stars Treat Williams, Famke Janssen of course, Anthony Heald, Kevin J. O'Connor and Wes Studi. The film was originally titled Tentacles and had Harrison Ford in mind for the lead role. When he turned it down, the budget was cut considerably. But that's not to say Deep Rising looks on the cheap side. It certainly has a big budget feel. The movie begins with boat captain John Finnegan and his motley crew transporting a team of mercenaries to a luxury cruise ship which they plan to hijack with some rather large bombs. On the ship, everyone is having a good time. Too much of a good time, really. Well, it is the greatest, most luxurious ship ever, the sleazy owner tells them. Professional thief Trillian is also having a good time, until she hears a scary noise in the distance. Could just be an angry whale. Her fun also stops when she's caught red-handed breaking into the ship's vaults. They punish her by locking her in the food storage. Happy times are back again. Suddenly, a mysterious person on board the ship does some kind of techno-sabotage with a CD, bringing the cruiser to a near standstill. And to make matters worse, something really big in the ocean is heading up towards them.
Directly beneath us, sir. 160 meters directly beneath us and rising very quickly. 150 meters.
There's a big collision which causes panic and chaos. And when one of the guests locks herself in the loo, we soon discover that something dangerous has worked its way into the ship via the toilet. Either that or the salmon mousse from the buffet may have been a little off. After a collision with a lifeboat, the boat full of mercenaries finally makes its way to the cruise ship, which is now dead in the water. They board the ship only to find it completely deserted. I mean, what the f*** happened to everyone? 10 minutes ago it was like... party time! And there's blood. Here, there.
We got blood everywhere.
As hard as they look, they find no one. And it takes the slightest thing for these crazy boys to get trigger happy with their new toys. Everyone splits up. Always a good idea on a deserted ship with blood everywhere. Meanwhile, back on the smaller boats, two of the people left behind start finding remains of some of the passengers and are soon attacked themselves by something splashy. And it isn't long before the mercenaries start getting picked off by something lurking beneath the surface. They come across Trillian, who's escaped from the food store, and the ship's crew, where there's a bit of a misunderstanding involving an axe. Oops. There's a lot of accusations and pointing guns at each other before they realise they're not so much in Deep Rising, but deep shit. Especially when they find the digested remains of more cruise liner passengers. It also turns out that the sleazy owner of the cruiser was the one that sabotaged it, hoping to claim on insurance. Twat. The creature from the deep finally makes a slimy entrance when giant tentacles appear. This is one of my fave moments, when gunfire causes a tentacle to split open, spilling out a partially digested mercenary who is still alive! A great combination of practical makeup and CG. It's creative and a lot of gooey fun. The tentacles themselves are brought to screen mostly with CG, and the design is pretty cool. They first appear to be slimy muscular tentacles with a mouth on the end, but the mouth opens up to reveal shitloads of teeth and pincers. A bit like the Predator's undersea cousin. The boat owner seems to know a lot about these creatures, particularly how they kill their victims.
They drink you alive, sucking all the fluids out of a body before excreting the skeletal remains.
Nasty! But hey, I like to eat my victims alive, so it would be hypocritical to frown on this kind of behaviour. The remaining survivors decide to abandon ship and head back to the smaller boat, which is easier said than done. There's more body parts! More guns! More tentacles!
What are you looking at?
Plenty more death and more Famke Janssen! With a big gun! This all leads to a confrontation with the big beastie that's on the end of those tentacles, and it certainly ain't pretty. I've always liked the design of this monster, courtesy of effects genius Rob Bottin, who was of course responsible for the makeup effects on The Thing, Total Recall, amongst others. I would have liked to have seen a bit more destructive action from the main monster once it's been revealed. Do our plucky heroes make it off of the cruiser alive? Well, if you haven't seen it, I'll leave that for you to discover for yourselves. So I'm a big fan of Deep Rising. Yes, at times it doesn't always have the most sophisticated dialogue, especially when it comes to the mercenaries, but in fairness, they're not meant to be the smartest tools in the box. I mean, at one point one of them gets thirsty, drinks seawater, and is surprised that it's all nasty and salty. Duh! There's just enough gore to keep it out of the PG category, and plenty of action and explosions. This is a film with its tongue firmly in its cheek. In fact, this is when the dialogue is at its best, and there's also some genuine edge-of-your-seat action sequences. Treat Williams and Kevin J. O'Connor in particular both have very likeable characters, with plenty of witty dialogue, and the ongoing abuse from pretty much everyone that's aimed at O'Connor's character Joey is particularly amusing. The late great Jerry Goldsmith provides a pounding and energetic score to move things along. Goldsmith would go on to collaborate again with director Summers on The Mummy. Deep Rising came out in a year of several other big monster-themed movies, The Relic, Anaconda and Mimic. All these films are definitely worth checking out. As with Deep Rising, none of them are perfect, but you'll certainly have a good time watching them. There's also a tease of a potential sequel at the end, which hints at King Kong Skull Island. This was for a planned Kong reboot that Summers would direct, but of course that didn't happen, which is a shame. So if you like fun monster movies with plenty of action, and one that doesn't take itself too seriously, then this is definitely worth a few hours of your time. Thanks for watching. Until next time, remember, stay warm and stay tasty. Hey zombie lovers, hit the subscribe button now so you'll never miss an episode. I'll be up to all kinds of things, from playing board and video games, reviewing absolutely anything horror related that takes my fancy, or sometimes just talking shit about my zombie life.